Democrats couldn't field a high-profile candidate to run for what was then considered a deep red seat. So this little-known 30-year-old national security staffer and documentary filmmaker decided to throw his hat in the ring.
Imagine you had 30 seconds to make a life or death decision affecting thousands of Americans. That's what we expect of our president. Sound judgment. That's why it's so concerning to see President Trump act impulsively. He's not only embarrassing us on the world stage, he could start an unnecessary war. I'm Jon Ossoff, and I approve this message because I'll work with anybody to do what's right for our country. But we can't let Donald Trump put us at risk.
Ossoff instantly became a national figure. He raised tens of millions of dollars just for this congressional race. And though he outperformed the Democrat who ran in the district just 10 months before by 10 points, he narrowly lost the race to a Republican named Karen Handel himself by about 3. And at the time, this loss was seen as a sign the Democratic Party remained adrift and lost after 2016. As Frank Bruni put it in the New York Times, quote, "After Georgia elections, Democrats are demoralized again." But in hindsight, maybe they didn't have such intense reason to be. Because this was the early days of this emerging new Democratic coalition of high-propensity suburban voters, absolutely repelled by Trump and Trumpism, showing up in big numbers as they did to narrow that gap in that seat that had been 13 points down to 3. Now this we've seen especially in special elections and midterm elections. It happened throughout the entire Trump era. Ossoff's close race in the Atlanta suburbs was precisely the canary in the coal mine for this transformation in American politics and for Georgia becoming competitive for Democrats at the state and federal level just 3 years later. Because in 2018, Democrat Lucy McBath actually flipped that seat away from Karen Handel. 2 years after that, Georgia went for Joe Biden, Raphael Warnock, and Jon Ossoff. Warnock had to run again 2 years later since his first victory was technically a special election. But he proved to be an incredibly formidable campaigner. He defeated former NFL star Herschel Walker, recruited personally by Trump to run, in a runoff of his own. And all that in a Biden midterm year, no less. And now both men are senators and potentially even 2028 presidential contenders, which is why Republicans are running tonight to attempt to take one of them down. I want to bring in MS Now senior data reporter Ali Velshi at the big board. Ali, what are you seeing right now from Georgia?
Well, you really laid it out, and this is important because you look at the Senate GOP race right now, 42% of the vote is in, and Mike Collins, with Donald Trump's endorsement, is in the lead, about 17,000 votes right now, 53% of the vote to 47 for Derek Dooley. Derek Dooley is enjoying support. This is the lighter red in those areas that Brian Kemp would have done well. In the more rural areas and in southern Georgia, you're seeing more from Mike Collins. But when we look at the vote that's not yet in, we can probably guess that more of it's going to go to Mike Collins. So whether that's the Trump endorsement or something else, for the moment, Mike Collins is in the lead, and we think he's going to stay in the lead for a while, but with 42% of the vote in, it's a little early to tell. So this is a determinant as to who runs against Jon Ossoff, and you did a really good job of pointing out the fact that Jon Ossoff was actually thought to be vulnerable for 2026. According to our ratings, this Georgia is leaning Democrat in that election. Let's go to the gubernatorial race. This person is going to face off against Keisha Lance Bottoms, the former mayor of Atlanta. Same thing, 42% of the vote in. Burt Jones is the lieutenant governor. He's endorsed by both Brian Kemp and Donald Trump, so he's got 2 endorsements. Rick Jackson is ahead. He's endorsed by Ted Cruz, interestingly enough, an unpopular senator from another state. But it's 57 to 42. Now, this looks like quite a spread with 42% in. We sort of expect, based on the patterns that we're seeing, for this one to narrow. But for the moment, and I would say this is a little unexpected, Rick Jackson is enjoying a lead. Again, one of these 2 people is going to face off against Keisha Lance Bottoms. This is probably going to end up being one of the most expensive Senate primaries that we've seen. Both of these guys have put a lot, double-digit millions of dollars into this race.
Yeah, and one of the things that